Hey guys, Drewski here, and who knew in 2021 that I'd be talking about the most authentic and realistic recreation of the Vietnam War in a video game. And that video game being ARMA 3. It's kind of crazy. There is a new ARMA 3 creator DLC called S.O.G. Prairie that was just announced this morning. There's a link to the website right below this video if you'd like to check it out. But otherwise, you can sit back, relax, and I can tell you all about it because I've played it. I've spent the last month checking it out. I've played with the devs. I've played with the beta testers, or the testers that are close to the devs. And I've even played with actual veterans who were on the ground in the scenarios that you're seeing in these thumbnails. Unfortunately, I can't get you footage quite yet, but I have recorded those sessions and I will be able to get them out into the wild pretty soon. But for now, I can tell you all about the DLC. First off, this DLC is all about showcasing the Vietnam War. You get to explore a map that is made up of Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam in different locations from those areas. It's not exactly one-to-one or to scale. It's about the size of Altus in comparison for actual landmass in-game, but you have 2 times the objects in that map, so you have a lot more density because it's a jungle map. And when I talked about authenticity earlier, I really meant it. These developers have been working side by side with U.S. Covert Special Ops guys who were actually there on the ground, U.S. veterans, and also, I believe, advisors from the Vietnamese as well. And they've been working together with these guys side by side. I mean, there's certain specific things and pieces of gear that you'll find in the game, and you'll wonder why they're a certain way. Why is there a can attached to this, machine gun, or why is this, why is this piece of gear strapped on like in this sort of form? Well, they actually talked to the guys who were there that spent 300 plus missions going into combat again and again and again and again, and they got feedback that those guys who went to combat every single day, they had to optimize their kits, their loadouts, because if they didn't, they could threaten their own life. It's really cool to see this in ARMA 3, but you'll get to actually see a very authentic sort of customization, I guess, sea of detail. There's so much detail when it comes to the loadouts that these guys used to wear. They spray painted their flat uniforms to create disruptive camouflage. It's very, very cool. All the detail that these guys put into their kits, and you get to explore that military science in this DLC. And this DLC isn't just a content pack either. There is a multiplayer co-op campaign that is very, very well done, very well polished. It's up to 14 players on it, which is insane that it's like a campaign scripted mission, but it's 14 players and it is extremely difficult. You have to actually play your role. You have to actually use strategies that were used back in the day to succeed. I've played, I believe, 2 of the missions so far, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I've done 2 of the missions. If not, I've done 1 and maybe like another scenario. But I enjoyed the hell out of them. They add new features to ARMA 3 that I can't talk about specifically, but they will blow your mind when you start playing them. I was extremely pleased by this experience. Overall, to say it very generally, this DLC flourishes with infantry combat, and it makes ARMA 3 feel almost new again, especially when it comes to stealth and awareness and perception. This DLC just expands a little bit farther out on every corner of infantry combat. What's insane, though, is that these guys didn't just add in a campaign and maybe a few multiplayer modes. There's multiplayer modes supported by every major multiplayer mode. So you have in-game, Warlords, you have Zeus, you have Liberation, Anastasi, Patrol Operations, King of the Hill even, PlayerUnknown's Battle Royale, you have Exile, you have all these major missions that are preset for this DLC when it releases, which is crazy, because usually you would have these DLCs coming out after they would get adapted. So when the DLC comes out, it's kind of naked. You can't really play your favorite game modes with that content pack because, well, nobody's made it yet. Nobody's had access. But they worked with, I'm guessing they worked with the mission creators of those DLCs, and worked with them to create missions for this one. So you get it day one. You have so many game modes to play from. And oh my gosh, the guns. Holy crap. 55 new weapons and variants, by the way. You get CAR 15s, M16s, M14s, M40A1s, M60s, M79s, M1911s. Just, dude, the guns in this DLC are so good looking. They're dirty, they're scuffed up, they're scratched, they look good, they sound solid as well. I feel like the gunshots are extremely clean. There's not a single thing about the gear or guns on these soldiers that I felt was low quality or anything less than vanilla, like 100% AAA studio created. I would say that, in my opinion, even the guns and gear, especially the gear in this DLC, are leaps and bounds ahead of vanilla ARMA 3. And vanilla ARMA 3 is 2013. It's 7 years old at this point, but still, this has so much more detail. It has so much more history that went into the gear and guns. I mean, these guys went through a lot, and it's very interesting to see how they worked and what they used and how they set up their patrols and how they set up their squads. It's super cool to play alongside one in a mission, flying back from the mission you just completed in a helicopter, and Don Hayes, a member of Mac v S.O.G, is literally joking about how new kids nowadays call it gigahertz when it's just horsepower.
Yeah, you need horsepower when you're computing.
Yeah, totally, man.
Some people talk about it as, gigahertz and processor size and all that, but it's horsepower.
At the end of the day, it's all horsepower.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so cool, the amount of time that they spent working with these veterans getting everything right. I mean, I really don't think that there's a person out there that's going to really find many inconsistencies with this mod. Everything from the vehicles to the weapons to the gear, everything looks good. And I can't wait to show you guys the gameplay, because the gameplay is just so clean. I mean, you have moments where you're in extreme stealth mode, where you're listening as hard as you can for any crack in the forest, and you have moments where it's extreme firefights, extremely loud, the loudest firefights you've had in ARMA 3, and you've only got 12 or 14 players on your team in that, campaign mission, but still, it gets that loud, it gets that crazy. And especially when you have the same exact kits that the Mac V guys wore back in the day. You are wearing 28 magazines on your body at a time. If you're holding a CAR 15, basically an M16 in your hand, you have something like 28, 30 magazines on you, because that's how much you will need, because that's how much they used back in the day. It's crazy how much detail there is. And it's like, if you look at the soldiers, for example, they have canteens on their belts. I didn't know this. This is a really cool fun fact, but they have canteens on their belts, and you're like, why do they have so many canteen pouches? Well, they didn't always have canteens inside of the canteen pouches. They more so use those pouches as magazine pouches. So they would have, I'm pretty sure, two 20-rounder Stanag mags, and then in the center they would have like the 30-rounder or like the 25 28-rounder. I'm not really sure, but they would stick those in the canteen pouches, because all they got issued back in the day, I'm pretty sure, I could be totally wrong, was these little tiny single Stanag mag pouches that didn't really hold on that well. I used to use one of those for hunting, and they would fall out all the time. So I totally understand why these guys would just say, to F with that, I'm gonna use a canteen pouch to hold my magazines. Also, soundtrack slaps. Dude, they made these songs for this DLC. Like think about it. I'm just saying, like, okay. There's an actual radio in like the Jeeps and the Hueys that you can turn on, so that you can listen to this music as you're flying or driving through Vietnam. Like, how cool is that? You can actually listen to real broadcasts too, that their original like news had at the time at FOBs. Like, you can hear that on the radio. It's super cool. Anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed my little review and first look into the S.O.G Prairie Fire DLC. We'll actually have footage in our next few videos coming up about this DLC. It might be a month or two whenever the NDA gets lifted. Not really sure when that's going to happen, but the day it gets lifted, I will have videos on this channel about this DLC. So if you're into Vietnam, if you're into this DLC and the idea around it being a super authentic and realistic DLC, definitely hit a subscribe button on my channel to watch for more whenever the actual videos go live. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video, guys. I will see you in the next one.